Hello again, fellow YouTubers and fellow Bond fans. Solomon Pleasant back for another James Bond movie review. And this is our last movie review with Roger Moore. So, let us dive right into A View to a Kill. That was a really awkward opening, you have to admit. That was pretty awkward. Exactly. Alright, so we're going to start with story. And the story to A View to a Kill is actually pretty original, I think. You got your villain, Max Zorin, whom we'll talk about more in characters. And he's basically going to flood Silicon Valley. By doing this, he'll then be able to... What was it? Oh yeah, he basically is going to mass produce, I believe, the amount of silicone or something. Basically, he's going to flood Silicon Valley, thus creating a higher profit of his own stuff, kind of like Goldfinger, except without a nuke. So it's basically kind of what Goldfinger did in Goldfinger, where he basically is getting rid of the competition, making his stuff better, except instead of gold, Max Zorin is using... I'm cheating. Wow. I didn't prepare for this. I believe it's just silicone, but I feel like it's something more with microchips or something. I can't remember that part. Still, just because I can't remember it, the story's still really good because it just plays out really well. Now, the way it's looked at, for the most, Max Zorin and his sidekick do an okay job, but there are like other people in there, we'll talk about them more in characters, but... Yeah, despite the fact that I can't remember anything, because my brain is just not working today, I still give story a star, because I really genuinely like A View to a Kill. It's a pretty good story lineup. Microchips. It's with microchips. I feel like it is. So, yeah. Story, star. Moving on to scenery. Scenery is also really good. I mean, they did a good job with this. The shots of Paris look nice, Silicon Valley looks nice, the battle on the bridge at the last scene is really good. Everything that leads up to that is really well shot, so it all looks good. So for that reason, I give scenery a star, because it all looks really good. Moving on to follow-up. I think this film follows up Octopussy pretty well. sorry, that title makes me laugh. A lot. Yeah, it follows up the last film really good and actually improves on it. I think since Live and Let Die, A View to a Kill has been one of Roger Moore's best films. Live and Let Die is a little bit better, but still A View to a Kill did a pretty good job, I think. So for that reason, I give follow-up star as well, because I think it did a good job. Next, the theme song. I'm okay with the theme song, but it's not one of my personal favorites. I mean, it's kind of catchy, but at the same time, I'm just not the biggest fan of it because it's just not on my personal... It's just not one of my favorites. It's still pretty good, but for the most part, it's just not necessarily for me. So for that reason, I give theme song half a star because, again, it's just a bit... It's upbeat and catchy, but at the same time, it's not... The lyrics aren't interesting enough to pull me in. So for that reason, I give theme song half a star. Finally, moving on to characters. Roger Moore does a good job as Bond, even though Roger Moore looks really, I don't know what they did to his face, but he still does a good job as Bond. The Bond girl, Stacy something, does okay, I think. She's a little more annoying, and, I don't think she's as old as Roger Moore, so maybe that would make it a little bit weirder during the sex scenes, but she does an okay job. Villains. Max Zorin is played by Christopher Walken. That alone, when at first I didn't necessarily know who Christopher Walken was at one point. So when I found out who he was and I realized he was in A View to a Kill, I'm just like, whoa, what? He's in that? And he does a pretty good job, actually, and when he dies and he falls off the bridge, spoilers, he's just like, he just laughs and then he just falls off the bridge and dies, but I really like Max Zorin. I think he does a good job as a Bond villain. He's eccentric, but still really smart. There's something about him being like a genetic clone, and I didn't really see that. I mean, you could have easily just had him been a eccentric Bond villain, and that would have worked just as well. So the whole thing about him being a clone from like some Nazi program or something is just like, wait, what? It's kind of weird. But other than that, Max Zorin does a good job. Mayday as a villain henchman is pretty good, and she has one of the few. She's one of the few here villains to turn to the good side. Now Jaws did, but Jaws can't die. Mayday is not Jaws, so Mayday dies by bomb. She stops Silicon Valley from flooding, but she blows up in the process. All in all, she does an okay job. There's some other henchmen like Dr. Monitor and Scarpine, but they don't do much, and they both just die in the blimp explosion. So they don't really do that much, and for that, they just don't really do that well. I forgot about Bond's friends. MI6 does an okay job. All together, they just do an okay job. I'm just going to say that. And I like Sir Tibbet. He was an okay friend of Bond, and it's a shame that he died. It's a real shame that he dies in the movie, because I think he did an okay job. But all in all, the characters that were showcased did really well, I think. So for that reason, I give it a star, because characters just did a really good job, and I think this was a proper way for Roger Moore to end off. So all in all, that is 9.5 out of 10, which is something that has not been shown in most of the other Roger Moore Bond films. And again, I'm not the biggest fan of the Roger Moore films, but Live and Let Die and A View to a Kill are probably the two best out of Roger Moore. And yeah, not much else to say there. And it's a shame as Roger Moore steps up. Who is stepping in? Well, we're going to find that out, because what is next time? That one. Yeah, that one. Timothy Dalton entering the Bond scene for only 2 films. That one, yeah. Alright. We'll talk about that next time. This has been Solomon Pleasant, signing off.